Hello, and welcome to Completing the Square. So, today we're looking at when we have something like this, and we just simply can't factorize it. Now, for this example here, you could probably factorize it, but negative 57, and there's 16, and there's some unusual numbers at play here, so it's best to use this method just to check or just to get any funky numbers out of the question. So the way we do this is we have to find the x-intercept, so we set y to equal 0. Okay, so next thing we have to do is to get rid of this 57 here. We don't like the 57, so we're gonna just plus 57 on both sides, plus 57, right? So now we're left with x squared plus 16x is equal to 57. Okay, so now we want to turn this side of the equation here into a square quadratic expression. So just a quick reminder up here, x plus a squared is equal to x squared plus 2ax plus a squared. Okay, so we want to do this to this. Okay, so the way we do this is we need to work out what a is in this equation here, this bit here. So the way we work this out is we get our coefficient of x, which is 16, and then we halve it. So now we have x squared plus 16x plus 8, half of 16, and then we're going to square it, and then that will be equal to 57 plus 8 squared. And the reason why we add it to both sides is because what you do to one side of the equation you have to do to the other. Okay, so 8 squared is just 64, so we can just replace that. Okay, and since we know what our two values are on this side of the equation, we can just rewrite it as x plus 8 squared. And that's equal to 57 plus 64, which is 121. Okay, from here, we solve for x. So now we root both sides of the equation. Let's continue over here. So 8, x plus 8 is now equal to, this is the important part, plus or minus 11. Okay, so the reason why we have a plus or minus is because 121 could be negative 121 squared, or 100, no, the reason why we have a plus or minus 11 is because we recognize that 121 could be either negative 11 squared like that, or just 11 squared here. So with that in mind, plus and minus 11. Okay, so now we minus 8 from both sides. X is equal to minus 8 plus or minus 11. Okay, so then we'll start with plus first. So negative 8 plus 11, it's going to be positive 3 is equal to x. Okay, or x is going to be equal to minus 8 minus 11. So minus 8 minus 11, that's minus 19. Okay, so now that we know this, we can now say that our first equation that we had can be factorized to x minus 3 times x plus 19, and we take the opposite of these two values here. Okay, so let's do a more complicated example. So 6x squared minus 7x minus 3 equals 0. Okay, so if we tried to factorize it, we would have some difficulty because it's some really strange numbers, but let's see if we can solve it anyway. So let's transpose the 3 across, so we have 6x squared minus 7x equals 3. Okay, now because this a value over here is greater than 1, we have to divide the entire thing by whatever that number is. So in this case it's going to be 6, so we'll divide both sides by 6, and I'm going to just rewrite that as 1/2. So it's just simplified down. I'm going to get rid of this, and it's now going to be 7x divided by 6. And now from here we just do the exact same method, but as you can begin to tell, this isn't going to be a whole number answer. Half of the b value, so let's just write out 7x over 6 and plus, so we want 7 over 6 over 2. Ooh. And then we have to square all that. That's going to equal the exact same thing, 7 over 6, and all of that over 2. And then we're going to square that. Okay, so get rid of that, replace it with 12, right? So 7 over 12 squared, well 7 squared is 49, if you would work with me. 7 squared is 49, and 12 squared is 144. And then let's do the same over here. It's 49 over 144. These two fractions we're gonna have to add together, so let's times this 1/2 by 72, which is half of 144. So we get 49 plus 72 over 144, right? And we will now 72 plus 49 is 121 over 144, and we will factorize this to x plus 7 over 12 squared. Okay, root both sides. I'm gonna have to go over here now. X plus 7 over 12 is equal to 11 over 12. Well, plus minus. Okay. So x now equals 11 over 12 plus minus 7. because we have the same denominator, I can do that. It's just join the fractions together. So x now equals, let's start with plus. So 7 plus 11, that's 18. 18 divided by 12, that's the same as 3 over 2. Or 7 minus 11, well, that's negative 3 divided by 12, that's a negative. So we know that if x is equal to negative third or 3 over 2, we can use null factors law to factorize it. So we know that the inverse of what it can be is inside the brackets. So instead of x minus a third, it's x plus a third, and instead of x plus 3 halves, it's going to be x minus 3 halves. And if you can remember all the way to the start, we divided the entire equation by 6, so now we have to times the entire equation by 6, so we just put a 6 out there, and we're done. That's fully factorized right there. This was quadratics. What part are we up to? Part 3? I think part 3. In the next video, I'll be talking about the quadratic formula and how it's used and how it's proven. And you'll find out that the quadratic equation is basically completing the square. It's just a more clean version, I guess. So I will see you in the next one.